Now let's look at passage number one. This is read the passage and understand the passage. Now in the subsequent sort of lessons, we'll get into how to read the passage. But we'll not worry about that at this point in time. Let's just read the passage and see what's going on. This is passage number one. Remember that it was 25 percentage and 19.4 on a topic on ethics from a journal that we'll never read in our life. Stanford Encyclopedia with local interpretation questions. And let's see how to nail this one. Let's start with the passage. Now, this passage has got these four the paragraphs. So let's make sense of this one. Okay, let's start. Feminist ethics aims to understand, criticize, and correct how gender operates within our moral beliefs and practices our methodological approaches to ethical theory. More specifically, feminist ethicists aim to understand, criticize, and correct one, the binary view of gender, two, the privilege historically available to men, and or three, the ways that views about gender maintain oppressive social orders or practices that harm others, especially girls and women who historically have been subordinated along gender dimensions, including sexuality and gender identity. Since oppression often involves ignoring the perspective of the marginalized, different approaches to feminist ethics have in common a commitment to understanding better the experiences of persons oppressed in gendered ways. That commitment result in the tendency in feminist ethics to take into account empirical information and material actualities. What just happened? Okay, I need to read with respect to the purpose of this particular passage in terms of what this passage is trying to tell us, right? So essentially, the passage is introducing us to this thing called feminist ethics. That's what the passage is. What is this feminist ethics all about? And has got this first sentence which actually talks about what is its aim. Aim is to understand correct how gender operates within our moral beliefs and practice of methodology approaches to ethical theory. So how gender operate within a particular context. So all that the first sentence is telling us that feminist ethics has a particular aim, and then gets into saying that more specifically something is very specific. Let's get into specific. Okay, I've told you this is our aim, but what do they do? These feminist ethicists aim again, I think the specific aim, getting into specific aim, to understand, criticize, correct three things. Basically, there is the thing number, there is this thing number one, thing number two, and thing number three, and they're going to correct all the three things. Or maybe one, maybe two, maybe all. And one is about binary view of gender, male, female, two genders. Second is about the privilege, historical ability to men. Men has got a lot of privilege. We will correct it. And three is like one crazy sentence which started here. Well, first of all, that is one sentence that is going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Basically says that what does it that thing say? Merely says the ways that views about gender maintain oppressive social orders or practice that harm others. Our views about gender actually oppressing people. I want to correct that. Especially what? And it gets into saying specifically whom? Girls and women. Why? They have been historically subordinated along gender dimension, sexuality and gender identity. All that is saying that feminist ethicist or feminist ethics has got aim to do either one, two, or three. That's all that says. And says since oppression often involves ignoring perspectives of marginalized, different approaches to feminists that they have. So there are approaches number one. So let's say approach A, approach one, approach two, approach three, and so on and so forth. They have got a common commitment, something that is common. What is common? So because of these two aims, there are different approaches. They say and or. The people can have basically one of these, one, two, three, they focus on, and they are different approaches. But what is common? They have a commitment to understanding better the experience of person oppressed in deprived. They want to understand the experience. They want to understand the experience of person who's oppressed space. That commitment, whatever that resulted in feminist ethics to take into account empirical information and material actualities. We'll not worry too much about what that is. Basically, understand. Look, feminist ethics has got a name. They have to correct certain things. What? Three things. One, two, three. And there are different approaches to this, but they have a common commitment. What is it? They a particular commitment they have. And because the common commitment, that resulted into something. That's it. Now, if the question forces us to come back, we'll check. But I understood basically the first paragraph is introducing to us what feminist ethics is all about. Right. Let's get into what is second paragraph telling us. Let's just read. What is the purpose? Why did the author write the second paragraph? Let's try and see. Not all feminist ethics correct. Oh, that's what he's saying. So I have got 1 through 3. Not everyone looks at 1 through 3. There are different approaches. Already he's saying, no. So basically, author is trying to explain that particular fact there. So not everyone is going to correct 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Some have assumed or uphold the gender binary. The first one. Some have assumed, okay, fine. I understand. No, fine. There is male, there is female. We have no problem. But they criticize and aim the privileging of men as morally worthy half a binary, or arguing against the mentalness of social order that oppresses others in gender, which is 2 and 3. There is one kind of feminist number one, which says one is okay, but we have a problem with 2 and 3. Okay. More recently, feminist ethicists have commonly criticized the gender binary itself. So there are some other kind of thing which say the one is a problem only. Arguing that upholding a fixed conception of the world as constituted only by biological men and women contributes to the maintenance of oppressive and gendered social orders, especially when doing so marginalizes those who do not conform to gendered binaries. I think the reason why the sentence is becoming big is that he's putting a reason and also giving explanation to that particular thing and giving extra bit of information in each of the sentences. But okay, so far we have understood that look, there are these two kinds. One will say different approaches so far. We have feminist ethicists who are attentive to intersection of multiple aspects of identity, including race, class, and disability, in addition to gender. There is someone else. They look at multiple aspects in addition to gender. What is the impact, for example, race has towards gender? Maybe a black female issue is different from a white female issue. A poor female's issue would be different from a rich female issue. Disability. A particular person having a certain disability, that woman has got a different issue. They're looking at much more broader this one. Okay. What is their problem? Let's look at, or what is, no, I can't say their problem. I didn't say that. I'm just saying, what are they trying to do? They're criticize and correct. What is it? Criticize and correct assumption that men simpliciter are historically privileged. Men are historically. What? How come you're historically privileged? As if privilege distributes equally among all men, regardless how they are socially situated. Basically, they're saying that look, how can you say that they're equally distributed? Maybe white men have got a different privilege than black men. Poor men have got a certain privilege than rich men. They focus more on criticizing, correcting oppressive practices that harm and marginalize others who live at intersection to account for the distinctive experience of women whose experience are not those of member of culturally dominated groups. So they have different kind of ways of dealing with it. So all that this paragraph is telling us is that there are different types of approaches. I think mainly saying that this one, right? Further explaining that there are different approaches. What is the next paragraph saying? Whatever the focus of feminist ethicists, whatever they try and focus, whatever they try and do, a widely shared characteristic. I mean, for all these people, there is something that is common. There is something that is common between all of them. This particular paragraph is telling us there is something that is common. What is that? Is that is common? Of their works is at least some overt attention to power, privilege, or limited access to social good. So power, privilege, and limited access to social good. PPL focus. In broad sense, on a broader perspective, then feminism is fundamentally political. Author is saying that this is political. Now, don't assume that political means it is bad. That's what sometimes we do. We unnecessarily assume that author is saying, no, they are political. Okay, political, bad. Author never said they are bad. You don't put your perspective into the discussion. Let's listen to the author only. Let's go and go. They are very political people. What is wrong in being political? What is wrong? This is not necessarily a feature of the feminist ethics that distinguishing it from mainstream ethics. However, Since feminist analysis of ethical theory as arising from material non-ideal context suggests that all ethics is political, whether its being so is recognized by the theorist or not. So basically saying that this is not so different. This is very similar to mainstream ethics only, because in one sense everybody is political. ठीक है. So far what we know, the author starts by talking about what feminist ethics. They focus on a few things. They have different approaches, but they have got a commitment which ensures that focus on the marginalized, and that commitment resulted in empirical information, material actualities. Okay, fair enough. And then gets into saying that look, there are different types of feminist approaches, but what is common between them is that they have that political outlook. That's what it is. Let's look at where it is going in the last paragraph. Okay. Since feminist ethics is not merely a branch of ethics, but instead a way of doing ethics. It is not just a branch, it's a way of doing ethics. Philosophers engaged in the above tasks can be concerned with any branch of ethics, including meta ethics, normative theory, and practical applied ethics. All these people, these feminist ethics, they are, so this is getting into a broader perspective. The author wants to say about the whole thing is that look, this feminist ethics is much more broad. They can do a lot of things. The point of feminist ethics is ideally to change ethics for the better by improving ethical theorizing and offer better approaches to issues, including those involving gender. So we have to get better approaches, including those involving gender. So feminist ethics, you are very important. You've got a bigger role to play. You guys are awesome. Feminist ethics is not limited to gendered issue because the insights of feminist ethics are often applicable to analysis of moral experience that share features with gendered issue or that reflects the intersection of gender with other bases of oppression. Basically, this one, no, these kind of things. These fellows, these ones, yeah. Author is saying that there is a larger role that you actually play. Here we can say they have a larger role. So, what is this passage talking about? What is the flow of the passage? Author is explaining to us feminist ethics. Start by saying that they have a particular aim, and then says that the aim has got broadly can be looked at in three things, but they have a common commitment, which is to focus on the marginalized. Right now, not everybody follows these three. Some there are a lot of different approaches, but they have some common characteristic that they are political. But from a larger perspective, they have a huge impact to ethics as a whole. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a passage. Now, did you understand the passage like how I did? So that's how we read and make sense of passages which is, what was the rating again? 19.1. We will nail them, ladies and gentlemen. We will nail them. All right.